Hi there, this is Jason DeWild from AKA Academy, and today we're going to have a little bit of a look at some vocal processing ideas. Now, obviously vocal processing is just such a big topic, and so many people tried so many different things. Even I tried different variations, so I never kind of stick to the same vocal chain or the same vocal effects at any time. But I thought I'd give you a bit of an example today. So let's have a bit of a listen to this track. Okay, so obviously quite a lot of things going on with that particular vocal. So let's start off by just soloing the vocal and just removing all of the processing that's on the insert so far. So here it is. You go out in. Okay, so that sounds pretty cool. It's well recorded, everything like that. So the very first processor that I've got on here is the virtual mix rack from Slate. I tend to use this one quite a bit. I always start with a trimmer just to kind of like control the level going into the next bit. So all of this is doing here is just removing just a little bit of level going in. And then the next channel that I've got going is the virtual channel. So this is the next processor. I always change this around, but at the moment on this particular vocal, I think it sounded best on the SSL-E emulation. And then that's followed by the FG116 compressor. So this is what it sounds like again without it. You go out in. And now let's bring this whole processor into place. You go out in to the. So what this is doing is just adding a little bit of like an analog grit, and the compressor is bringing the whole vocal forward quite a lot. There's not a huge amount of compression going on, only a couple of dB, maybe up to like 4 or 5 dB at its maximum, but it's bringing the vocal out a lot more. After the VMR, the virtual mix rack, in this particular instance, I've used Nectar. Now, I actually don't use Nectar very much. This is by Izotope, but on this instance, I thought I'd just give it a try. So again, let's have a listen to without it. You go out in. Okay, sounds cool. So let's add it in. You go out in to the. So what this has done is added a lot more clarity, a lot more presence into the vocal. Now that's done primarily by this tone control here, but these clarity controls, etc., also add a little bit of that. So again, not something I use a lot, but I think in this instance it works kind of okay. Just brings out a little bit more. So again. You go out in. So yeah, just a lot more presence and a lot more thing with the yeses there. The other thing I probably should notice, should let you know, is that if you look at the volume of this one, you can see that on occasion I've done a little bit of a duck out in terms of the vocal level. So here and here, for example. So let's see where that occurs. So if I just was to remove that, you'll notice that the letter T really sticks out a lot without it. So take it out. And I'll put it back in. So yeah, I do that quite a lot, and I've done it in this one as well. So look what's happening here. And that'll be the same issue. So if I take out that automation here, You'll notice that the T really cuts through a lot. And I think I probably would have done that after I'd put this Nectar in, because the Nectar's bringing out some of that tone and that clarity, but I've had to pull some of it back on some of the lines. So that's actually all I've got as an insert, the VMR and then the Nectar. Since vocals are generally recorded pretty dry, we tend to want some space around that. So the first send effect that I've got is, so I've created a send and that's gone to this channel, and the first send is actually some reverb. And in this instance, I've chosen the Verb Suite Classics from Slate. And in this case, I've chosen the medium hall from the Bricasti pack. So let's have a listen to it with this reverb now. You go out in... And let's just take it out. You go out into the world with... So it's added a beautiful space around it. I really like the Bricasti pack on this particular instance because it's very smooth reverb. I really like it. The other thing that I've also done, probably to note here, is that sometimes it's not really a good idea to put extreme lows and extreme highs into the reverb. So in this instance, I've put a low pass and a high pass filter just in front of the reverb, and that's going to stop those extreme low and high end from hitting the reverb at all. So it'll be subtle, but have a listen to the sound of the reverb when I've bypassed it. You go out into... Now I'll add it in. You go out into... So you hear that the actual, especially the top end, has been affected quite a bit. The whole reverb's not as bright. So I'm kind of pushing the reverb into a specific frequency range. The next bit of processing that I have is a slap delay. So for this, I'm using the little primal tap from Soundtoys. Now, if you have a look at the settings here, it's only 120 milliseconds and there's minimal feedback. So I'm only going to get one repeat of the echo here, of the delay. So this gives it that real kind of slap, what they call a slap effect. So let's have a listen. You go out into the... Okay, and I'll take it out. You go out into the world with nothing but... Okay, so it gives it a nice little, just a little extra texture to it. The next send effect that I've got is a medium delay, and this is actually a quarter note delay, courtesy of Echo Boy by Soundtoys. And again, you'll hear it adds a little bit of texture to it. So I'll just have it without it first. You go out in... And now I'll bring it all in. You go out into the world with nothing. Okay, so that sounds pretty cool. And the other thing that's really nice about this is that the delay itself is going through, I guess, a type of EQ or filtering thing. So on this, I've got a little telephone effect that's only affecting the delay itself. So that's kind of cool. All right. Now, also, you might have noticed that basically on one line, one of the sends comes on here. So I'm going to just show you what that send is. So that's a long delay. And so generally what happens on this is I just have it maybe just switching on at every now and again. And in this case, again, this one is primal tap, and it's set to basically half a bar, so 0.5 beats. And let's have a listen to that. And you'll just hear it come in on the 4th line. So let's hear it. You go out into the world. It's coming on with nothing but a shield to hide your face. So it's really nice just to accentuate one line, because that one's a little bit kind of stretched out, that line. I could afford to put the delay in on that line only. You wouldn't use it all the time because it would then get a little bit messy, but you hear the general effect that happens. So it just creates a little bit of additional interest to the vocal. Okay, so now with my dry, my reverb, my slap delay, and my medium, my quarter note delay, and a long delay all set up in place, you'll notice that all of these channels now go to what's called this submix channel. The submix channel is basically where I just change the overall level of the vocal, and on that I even have processing. So on this particular example, what we've got is another Slate virtual mix rack, and in this case the whole vocal chain and the whole with effects is now going through a Neve emulation, and then that's followed by the FG2A, which is a compressor. So let's hear it without it. You go out into the... Okay, so that sounds cool. Let's hear it with it. You go out into the world with... So you can hear that brings the vocal a lot more forward, brings the level up, and there's quite a bit of compression going on here. So I've got like 7 dB of gain reduction. So that's really kind of like keeping that level under control. But this is a really great compressor because the sound is like super transparent. I really love this. And this is going to sit well basically with the rest of the mix. So let's just hear how that all sounds now with everything's unsoloed. You go out into the world with nothing but a shield to hide your face. So it's really brought that vocal nice and forward, puts it nice into the mix. So that's one example of vocal processing. Obviously, there's just so many options, so many choices, and it all depends on the song, it all depends on the artist, and it all depends on the effect that you're trying to achieve. So hopefully that's provided some ideas for you. Feel free to put some comments in, and I'll catch you later.